Hello, fellow Voyagers. Jess here with Odyssey Human, here today to talk about claim your childlike power to give realness to things. Welcome to the channel. This is a place where we help you hack through the jungles of consciousness so you can discover the hidden treasures inside of you, my friends. It's all there, ready and waiting to be activated by you, through you, and for you. If that sounds good, please subscribe. We'd love to have you join us on the channel. Today's conversation has a very profound message. It actually made me tear up as I was researching everything for this video today. Our power lies in our giving realness to things, granting realness. Not reality, realness. Realness. There's a difference between those two words. We give things existence when we do that. Now, many people, when they first come to reality creation and manifesting, are looking for that technique that will help them point their finger at 3D reality and change it on the spot. And you can do that if you believe it's real. If you believe it is real. Many people, myself included, found that I could not do that. And it was very disappointing. And so it was hard for me for a long time to connect with a sense of how am I creator? How am I creating this? Where is my creative force or power? What power do I actually have? And just in the last few days, I have landed on it is to grant realness. It is to grant realness to things. That power, that when we believe something is real, right? We then participate with it. We invest ourselves, our consciousness, our awareness, all of the elements of that. That's our attention, our story, our conditioning, our habits, the things I constantly talk about on this channel. We invest all of that into what we believe is real. And we withdraw it from the things that we say are unreal. They are not real. That's not real, right? We take it away. So it's an imaginary wilderness. And I want to ask you these questions. Is a dream real? Is a nighttime dream real? If you think about it, it's like, well, yes, when I am in it, it is real. When I get a different perspective, it is not real, right? It evaporates in our awareness when we wake up in the morning, right? It dissolves back into the ether. Is life real? Then we can ask, is life real? Is what we are experiencing real right now? And science, science is kind of like on that edge of trying to figure out, is this a simulation? Is this a simulation? And there is a part of us in participating in giving realness to manifestation as a practice, as something that we're doing, that then goes along with the belief of there has to be some simulative element to this, right? If I can change it. So again, it's realness is something that we grant. Realness is something that is where our power lies. To give realness to something is to agree to participate with it, to agree to go into a dance with it, right? And to remove realness from it is literally to shun it out of existence, right? To remove everything that, all of our life force that we give it, to remove it, and then it goes back into potential. Remember as a child being in your imagination. Do you remember having an imaginary friend? Do you remember imagining yourself as a certain occupation, say an astronaut or a chef or a firefighter or whoever you thought you were as a child? Do you remember so easily slipping into the realness of those experiences? And it didn't matter whether you were seeing it in the 3D or not. It didn't matter. And then as we're growing up, right, and being socialized, at least in my experience, I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, to be totally honest and clear. We are then, the messaging becomes, well, that's not real. Your imaginary friend isn't real. That's not real. This is real. This is real. And we are, I'm speaking generally, we are forced into an experience that is of adulthood that is still imaginary, but less hopeful. Things like war and having the idea of having to support yourself and these things that are big and monstrous. And when we place our attention on them can really haunt us like a ghost. They are ghosts of our imagination, really, what these things are. So the game never stops. The game from childhood to adulthood does not end. Imagination doesn't end. It doesn't stop being. We don't stop drawing from it. And our power that we have right now in this moment, watching this video, coming here, being here with me right now, is that you grant realness to things. Remember your childhood power of doing that, of participating in a real experience that by an adult's perspective was unseen, was imaginary, right? Before you knew the difference between imagination and real life. That essence, that is pure power. That's what it is. That's what we are reclaiming. That's what we're trying desperately, all of us, to reclaim through learning manifestation and reality creation. We are trying to return back to that ability to not draw such a hard line between the things that happen to us, right, from outside versus the things that we want to create from inside. We're all really trying to, that's what we're getting at. That's the gem, the jewel. That childhood defiance, that whimsy, right? And when we do that, when we really invest this, I want you to think profoundly about this. Like really take this into account and mull on it for a little while, because you're going to find in there's something really, really powerful in there. Because when we give realness to something, when we say this is real, this is, I am participating in it, I'm going to give of myself, I'm going to invest all of my capacities into this and participate with it and dance with it, we bring things into existence. We literally give birth to the existence of something, right? For the child that has the imaginary friend, they have ushered in the existence of that imaginary friend in playing with it and talking to it and loving it, right? And we do the same now as adults. Let's not be ignorant enough to push under the rug that these monsters that we wrestle with are imaginary in their own right now as adults, right? The lack, the not having the things that we want, the harshness of a 3D world that we perceive is just constantly trying to bring us down and beat us down and breathing down our neck and telling us what is real and what isn't real, right? That in itself, we are granting realness to that, where we could be granting realness to our whims and desires with that childlike defiance. And I want to... So remember this, my first caveat, remember this, remember the differentiation between real and not real. When you are faced with what you feel like is sensory data of lack, it's in my face, it's not here, treat that like a nightmare. Treat it as a nightmare. Give it the same, once it passes, once the imagery passes back into imagination of some sort, memory, whatever it is, give it the same, I just lost my train of thought. Once it passes back in, give it the same clout as a nightmare, right? Put it on the same level as a nightmare. When we wake up from a nightmare, we experience in a nightmare the sensory reality of that being true. Say we're having a nightmare about being chased by a wolf. We're running, our heart is beating, we feel the fear of being chased by a wolf. But when we wake up from that, right? When we change our perspective, we can then perpetuate the nightmare and be like, I was really being chased by a wolf last night. Or we can say that was a nightmare. That was a nightmare. And when we label it as such, it passes away. It just goes back out of our awareness and we release from it, from the experience. I'm actually helping my brother right now write his autobiography. My brother has Down syndrome. And much of the book we are talking and he is revealing that many times he had a lot of fear around haunted houses, Halloween, stuff like that, because he could not discern that it was not real. And we've been having these conversations, and this is kind of where this idea came from, is asking him these questions and saying, well, why was that frightening to you? And he's like, I literally thought it was real. It was real for me in that moment, which created a lot of fear. And how similar is this to what we're all doing right now? We are so fearful of the lack because we think it is real. We are so fearful of not having it, losing the money, being homeless, not having our SP, losing them to a third party. We are so fearful of these monsters of our imagination when we could treat them like nightmares and let them pass back out of our awareness. I also want to remind you of the story of the Velvetine Rabbit. This is my second caveat. The Velvetine Rabbit, a lovely little book written by Marjorie Williams. I remember my mother reading it to me as a child, and there was something special and different about it back then. I could sense it back then as a very, very small girl. I'm going to put the link below for the book because you can find it online for free, and it's really, there's something magic in the book. And, the point of the book, the point of the Velvetine Rabbit is, in a nutshell, it's this little stuffed rabbit, a little plush rabbit, and he is with all these other toys. He belongs to a boy, and in talking to some of the other toys, there's something that he learns about being real. And you'll notice that the author capitalizes the word real in the book. Every time she says real, it's capitalized, capital R. That's because there's something there. There's something behind it, right? Of realness. And so at the beginning of the book, the little rabbit is talking to the skin horse. The skin horse is a real toy for the boy, right? Some of the toys are real and some of them aren't. And the Velvetine Rabbit really wants to be real. He wants to be real. And he's asking the skin horse, and they call him the skin horse because all of his hair has worn off. All of his fur, his coat is gone. He's been loved so hard. It's like, what is real? What does it mean to be real? The little rabbit asks the skin horse. And the skin horse says, real isn't how you were made. It's a thing that happens to you. And the rabbit's like, okay, does it hurt? Is it going to hurt when I go through this? And the skin horse says, well, when you're real, you don't mind being hurt. You don't mind being hurt. And then the rabbit asks, well, does it happen all at once or bit by bit? He's so curious. He wants to know. And I want to read you what the skin horse says. It doesn't happen all at once, says the skin horse. You become. It takes a long time. That's why it doesn't often happen to people who break easily, who have sharp edges, or who have to be carefully kept. Generally, by the time you're real, most of your hair has been loved off, and your eyes drop out, and you get loose in the joints, and very shabby. But these things don't matter at all, because once you are real, you can't be ugly, except to people who don't understand. How beautiful and profound is that? Like there's something about becoming real. Becoming real. This little rabbit toy wanted so badly to be real, to be loved so hard by the boy that he became real. And the skin horse also says, once you are real, you can't become unreal again. It lasts for always. It lasts for always. And I got a real sense in rereading The Velvetine Rabbit. It's a quick read. It'll take you maybe 10 or 15 minutes. That this is how we come into being, right? We started as an idea. We ourselves came into human form as an idea, right? Our parents either planned or unplanned us, but we were an idea before we were seen, right? We were believed into realness. When we came into this experience, we arrived as children. We have no discernment between what is real and what is not real. All is real. All is real. And then we go on this hero's journey of being told, no, these things are real and these things aren't real. And now the journey you're taking, I'm taking, is back to that childlike power where we as adults can now reinvest in the things that are inside of us, the little velvetine rabbits that so desperately want to be real in our world, right? Our desires and our wishes that so desperately want to be loved and made real in our imagination. And all we have to do is give them realness and remove realness from the things that we see in our 3D world that do not bring us joy, that do not bring us love, that do not bring us pleasure, right? Remove our investment in ourselves, in our imaginative investment, because that is our creative power. That's it right there. And once you become real, you can never become unreal again, right? You are returning to your realness and giving existence. You're literally breathing life into your desires. You're giving them life with your belief in them, with your granting, as you grant realness to them, just like a child does with their imaginary friend. And then you get to see them out in the 3D because it becomes real. It becomes very real. And that in the book, The Velveteen Rabbit, he goes through different stages. He feels like he becomes real when the boy loves him and all his fur comes off and he's very worn. But then he meets some real rabbits who have, that aren't stuffed with sawdust out in the garden. And they kind of poke fun at him and they say, "You're not real. You're just, what are you? You don't smell like a rabbit. You don't look like, you don't have back legs. You don't have hind legs." And they kind of poke fun at him. And he feels and he questions his own realness again. And then finally in the end, when the little boy gets scarlet fever and the nurse discards the Velveteen Rabbit in the garbage. And he's crying. The little Velveteen Rabbit is crying out in the garbage bag. And a little fairy pops up from his tears and grants him realness. And this is what we are doing. This is what we are doing every day with this journey, with this process. So don't take it for granted. Don't take it for granted. And step into your power to make the things that you want real, to bring to life all of your velveteen rabbits, and to withdraw your belief in the realness of big, scary monsters that the rest of society may be creating, right? Or that were monsters of your past that haunt you as nightmares now in your present moment. So, I know this was helpful to you. Drop a comment below. Let me know what you thought. I'll put the link for the Velveteen Rabbit below. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.